Today, our interview for the Apex by Private Collectors Club is the renowned and highly talented automotive photographer, Amy Shaw. Whilst most people will be familiar with her work, if you're not, you will certainly have unknowingly seen her photographs in publications such as Octane, Evo, Petrolicious, and Classic Driver, or indeed her superb coverage of events such as the Goodwood Revival. She manages to capture the excitement and vibrancy of the automotive passion with unrivaled and unique style, and is a great example of how young and ambitious people can come and rapidly excel in what is, traditionally at least, a rather antiquated world. Today, we talk a bit about how she got behind the camera lens, some of her strategies for capturing the speed and excitement of historic cars, hear whether she thinks mobile phones and social media can restrict the art of photography, and also hear about one of my all-time favorite automotive venues, the Bonneville Salt Flats. Amy, thank you so much for joining us, and let's begin.
Thank you so much for having me on. That was a lovely introduction.
There we go. So over the past few years, you've taken the historic automotive world by storm, bringing a fresh, unique style to automotive photography. But winding the clock back many years when you were growing up, did you ever imagine or indeed aspire to be doing what you're doing today?
It's such a weird kind of world I found myself living because no, absolutely not. I had zero, I can't even begin to express how little I thought I would be doing this job. It's, I always kind of liked photography, and I thought, that'd be something I'd love to do at some point. But I didn't think it was realistically a job I could do and actually survive on, really. And then the car side of things, again, was something I didn't even know my job existed. And so I always thought that I might be like, a weekend wedding photographer is what I thought I'd be, because that's what my dad used to do, like kind of as like a bit of pocket money the weekends. And so he was always into cars and in the automotive world. So I don't really know. It's a very strange place to find myself in, really. But I mean, it's become my dream job. I can't even begin to express how much I love doing what I do. So no, it's amazing.
And I understand you actually studied metalsmithing and jewelry design at university. How did that then evolve into automotive photography?
So this is the funny thing. So when I got to university and I thought, I don't really know what I want to do with my life. I'll just do what I enjoy at the moment. So I kind of went down this little path of art, and, I was quite creative and thought, I'll do something around here. And did photography as a hobby. But that was it. And I thought, well, you know what? I feel like I kind of understand photography, and I'll go. I've got that skill set. I'll go into university to learn something different that can give me a possible other skill set that I can maybe get a job at the end of this, because I had no idea how I was going to make money. And so, so I thought to myself, right, I'll do this course, which basically was like a multi-craft course, and working for briefs and designs. And I thought that I would end up becoming like a homeware designer or something. And I ended up going down the route of metalsmithing and silversmithing, and really found a passion in that. And then, but to be honest, I have not picked up a soldering torch or anything since I left university. My university was in the end, the best thing about going to university was that it gave me 3-4 years of breathing time and space to think about what I wanted to do. And also my student loan, and I got a grant as well because I did quite well in my art foundation. And those things ended up funding my first camera, my first laptop, and my Mini, actually, my classic Mini. So my university basically started off my career that it is now, but in a totally different way.
And do you think coming from that slightly unusual start then gave you the ability to look at the subject matter, obviously cars, in a fresh and different way?
I think that coming from so I've always felt like I'm a people photographer, and I still feel like I'm a people photographer now more than a car photographer. So I kind of photograph my family, my friends. I'd bring my camera to camping trips, and with my mom and dad and brother, and that was kind of what I learned to photograph. So when the cars came involved, or even before the cars, when weddings started off, I just thought to myself, I really want to document this day as best I can, so these people can look back on this day and think, yes, that is how I felt. That is what things look like. And then I took all of that knowledge and that emotion. I tried to bring the emotion and brought that into the car world. And I just thought to myself, the more I can live this car world and photograph it, the better I can show it in a very honest point of view, I guess. I kind of look at the car world from this romantic wedding background, I guess, and apply, I suppose, those emotions to that. When you meet a wedding couple, there are quite a lot of couples that you meet and you think, you meet them at the beginning of the day, or you've met them maybe once before, but very quickly you think, I really like you and I want to make sure that you really enjoy this day. And by the end of the day, you are great friends. friends, and I'm still, some of my closest friends that I speak to now are old brides and grooms of mine. So you get so emotionally involved, and it's the same with the car world. You end up meeting all these friends, and I've shot so many people over the years that you all see at events like the Revival, and you just think, I want to get a really nice shot of that person, and it just happens to be that there are cars and motorbikes around at the same time.
Absolutely. And I guess one of the beauties about photography is that it's entirely subjective. People have different tastes, but your photographs have always really resonated with me personally. And admittedly, rather late last night, I managed to boil it down to 3 key reasons. The first is your consistent and unique style. The second was your ability to capture the sense of movement and speed. And thirdly, and you kind of alluded to this, and arguably for me, the most important is that you managed to capture the vibrancy of the community, i.e. all the people in the passion that bring it to life. So addressing these 3 reasons in reverse order, how do you manage to capture that vibrancy in the classic car community so well? And to you, how do you balance the importance of cars versus people in your photographs?
So the way I try to work, and it's worked well for me so far, and I think this is probably the reason why I managed to get the shots that I do, is that I try to slot myself in as honestly as possible into that car, rally, events, shoot, whatever it is, and just really, really, really try and live it. Like when I used to say to bride and grooms, because they would say, how do we, do you want to sit with us, or, with the guests when you eat dinner and stuff? And I'm like, the more you can slot me in as a guest, or the better I can photograph the day. So, and it really was, it's exactly the same with the car world as well. I really try my hardest to live whatever I am doing. So if I'm on a rally, I'll try and get as many seats in different cars as I can, so I can photograph it from different people's points of view and really try and show what it's like to live that event, rather than sitting on the side of the road, for example, waiting for the rally to go past and photographing each car, and which I feel is a bit more of an onlooker's point of view. So in terms of the community, I just try to throw myself in, really, and you get to know people, you chat to people. I'm quite a talkative person, and I'm interested in people. So I think that's a real key thing that I have to try and do to try and get the photographs that I do. I think that's how I'd probably get the community side of things. But then to try and balance the cars as well, they're just these beautiful pieces of art that seem to be around at the same time. So it's not too difficult to think, that's a really nice shot of that car with this light at this angle, and that almost becomes a second nature. I don't really have to think about it. It's the people side of things that you really have to watch what they're doing. Are they putting their hand on the wheel? Are they about to change gear? Are they about to look in their rearview mirror if I'm sitting in the back seat? Things like that. You almost have to guess what they're going to do. The cars are the easy bit almost.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think certainly some of my favorite shots you've done are where someone's mid doing something, it's not posed, it's just sort of capturing that exact split second when they're they're getting you see a look or a movement or whatever it is. Really interesting. And then take number 2 on my list, capturing the sense of speed. How do you bring that excitement of movement from the tarmac to a static image or indeed a printed photo?
So that can be quite difficult, because it's sometimes the easiest way to capture speed is obviously to make the car be driving along somewhere, and you do a slower shutter to try and capture that essence of speed. The second your shutter on your camera is too quick and you start to see that the wheels or the tires of the car are static, you can see the tread of the tires. That's when you start to lose that feeling of motion. But especially with either cars or with people, if you've got something that's flowing or something that doesn't look right if it was to be static. So shooting pit lanes of stuff, you see people's hair slightly flying, and you think to yourself, you can see that movement, even though there's no motion blur in that. You can see that there is motion in that, from the way that things are lifted and kind of, I suppose, like levitating almost. But in terms of the car, it is the easiest if you can put things on like a slower shutter, so you just capture things as they're whizzing past you. And sometimes you don't get the shot that you're aiming for, and you get maybe half a car in, but you think actually that still works quite well. Some there are many bad shots that I take, and nobody ever sees those, but there are certain shots that you think, okay, that's exactly what I was after, or this is not quite what I was after, but actually works really well, being able to listen, like you can see the speed and you can understand the motion in this. So I think one of the shots I got at a members meeting once was I was in the pit lane and a car had come in, and you could see the glow of its brake discs, and the photograph isn't the crispest, but I thought, you know what, that moment is just totally shows off exactly what was going on at that moment. And I think you've got to sometimes be a little bit more relaxed about your technical side when you're trying to capture speed and emotion and stuff, because sometimes the shots aren't always going to be in focus, but that brings the understanding of motion and joy to the shot. So some people might say to me, oh, that's a really bad shot, it's out of focus, but I mean, I don't really care as long as I like it. So, because I know that if I like it, other people will like it, and I don't like everybody else's work and they won't all like mine. So I think it's a valid kind of thing. As long as you're content in what you're producing yourself, then that's truly, when it comes to art, I think, all that really matters.
Yeah. And that brings me nicely onto my first reason, which is your consistent style and sort of unique approach. Was it a conscious decision to try and create such a distinctive style? Or was it more of an evolution over time?
I think it was probably more of an evolution, because when my style started, I'd never photographed a car before anyway. So it started with the weddings. And at the time I was looking at all these other wedding photographers thinking, oh, I really like that style. I like those tones. And then I started to see some car photographers that I really loved. Like I regularly talk about Laurent Naval as a massive inspiration to me, and the way that he edited, I thought, what, I did for years, and I still probably can't figure out the way that he edits, but I don't think I'm going to try to now. But I used to really try to think, oh, how does he do that? So picking up these different inspirations from either what I photographed myself or from what I saw from other photographers' work, and I thought, there's some amazing photographers. Currently, I'm still inspired now. There's a photographer that I follow called Grease and Grain, a female car photographer, and she photographs things so dark, or she edits so dark that it looks amazing. And it's so her style. And I think, wow, that's really cool. So sometimes I play around with some of my pictures and go a little bit darker. I'm like, oh yeah, I like it. And then I don't know, you just kind of, you pick these things out, and it's never thinking I want to look like that person. It's, that's a really cool aspect of that person's work, whether it's the grain that they may have in their edit, or the way that they use black and whites, or they may completely desaturate the blues in all of their photographs, or whatever it is. You end up picking up this recipe that creates your own style. So it's definitely an evolution, and something that I think I will continually evolve, depending on how my work goes, and but it's got to be so subtle, because otherwise it's quite as you've said, it's not quite continuous, and it sort of wouldn't look like my own work, I think.
and you've shot for some of the top players in the car world, Jaguar Land Rover, Ferrari, Lexus, Bentley, Classic Driver, Octane, Evo, Petrolicious, and the list kind of goes on. But for me, some of the most interesting photographs you've taken have been from events such as, we talked about the Good Revival, but events of Bicester Heritage, road rallies, and so on. Of course, at an event, you don't have the luxury, as you mentioned before, of being able to stage manage the shot. Do you have to drastically change your strategy and techniques for events versus pre-planned shoots?
If anything, it's the other way around, I think. I'm so used to photographing, again, going back to weddings. These are days where you kind of have a rough idea of what's meant to happen, and then you just have to go. You have to photograph whatever's happening at that time. And I'm taking that into the car world. I feel so much more relaxed in events, like in the event environment, rather than set up shots, because the minute I have to be given a decision to think, what looks best, and I think, I don't know, maybe this, maybe that. It's difficult, I think, to sometimes figure out, for me, making decisions when you're just given something like, okay, this is what you've been given. Run with it and try your hardest to see what you can create out of it. I kind of love that. It's almost like a bit of a sense of adrenaline as well, because you just think, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And you're constantly looking for the shots. And you're knackered by the end of it, but it's definitely the way I prefer to work. So, trying to think of it the other way around, where I'm given a car and it's like, okay, go and shoot this car over the course of the day. There's a lot more planning involved, because you think, okay, where am I going to set up these shots? Can I look for locations? I scrolled many. I'm so glad that Google Maps, and you can drop yourself down and have a look around the streets, because that makes my job so much easier. So, and I just think, okay, maybe if I could go there, and I hope that the car's not parked there like it is in the photograph. And you kind of just think to yourself, right, how can I make this work? So, I have to, I suppose, change the way that I shoot, or the way that I think, at least, mainly on shoots that are static, and I have lots more time to think about them. So
some Google engineers are probably like, why is this girl Amy so walking around on Google Maps so much? What's she up to?
All the time. And it's funny, what I have as well, when I visit somewhere that I think that I'm like, oh, this would be a really great shoot location, on my own mobile phone and my own account, I have like an array of pins up and down the country that have like shoot locations, and I might put a little note being like, oh, there's a really good pub at sunrise, the sun would be lovely on this, or whatever, just so in the future if I'm ever doing a shoot in that area, I can be like, oh, I've got a location that works there. So sometimes in my photographs you might spot the same location a few times because I know it's one I really like and it works.
Interesting, very sensible. And talking of events, this week is Bonneville Speed Week in Utah, one of my all-time favorite events in the world. I know that you joined Triumph there when they attempted to beat a land speed record with Guy Martin a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Indeed, 3 years I tried to do the same thing, not on a motorbike, but on a car, in a 1965 Mustang, fastback Mustang.
That's really cool. That's something you should be able. You should open like any first dates with that. But like, by the way, did you know? Because that's really cool.
No, I think my girlfriend's definitely bored of my car chat. And indeed, probably all my friends are, to be honest. But yeah. So I ended up managing to do 199.165 miles per hour, painfully 0.835 of a mile per hour, the mythical 200, which is like less than the speed of a walk. But there we go. So I've got some unfinished business out there. But to me, it's just one of the most special places I've ever been. Can you tell us a bit about your experiences at Bonneville with Triumph and Guy Martin, and what was it like to photograph from the Salt Flats?
So this was a trip that I didn't plan at all, and it was, I knew that they were going out there. I can't remember how I found out about it. Maybe it's sort of seen on Triumph social media, and I just thought, oh, I'd love to go out there one day. And I thought, you know what, what's the harm in just sending them a little message on Instagram, or I think I actually put a post up on Instagram and said, Triumph are going to be doing this trip, and I'd love to go if I could. And I just thought, I'll see if anyone replies, and somebody did. Their PR guy was like, hey, seeing that you'd like to come, basically we can't we can't pay you to come out to be here and photograph, but if you want your flights and your hotel and food covered, you are welcome to come out. And I was like, hell yes, I'm going to take a week's holiday, basically, not quite holiday, but like go out there and shoot whatever I can just for the fun of it. And there's certain like opportunities that don't come up very often, and ones that I have the ability to take, such as that. And I just thought, you know what, I may never get to the Salt Flats other than this one time. So I'm going to definitely take this opportunity and run with it. So yeah, within like 3 days, I was off on a plane to Utah, and it was just like mesmerizing, I think, because seeing this place for the first time is, I know, you just don't really know what to expect. It's suddenly, it's so bright. The sun is so harsh, and we did a lot of waiting around because either the wind was too strong or the salt wasn't dry enough. It's, as I'm sure you know yourself, that it's that the salt conditions have to be perfect to be able to do these runs, because otherwise it's super dangerous, and they just couldn't do it. And it was just living with this group of people for a week and photographing them, and the engineers, and I know just our life while we're out there. I took my camera when we went out for dinner and to like the bars afterwards, and it was just a really cool experience. And then photographing Guy with his attempt as well, I just thought, you know what, this is a cool little snippet of Triumph's history, and I'm really, really pleased that I can be here helping out photographing this moment. So that was really special for me. So I'd love to go back and photograph Speed Week, and the people that go there after watching the world's fastest Indian. I just think, you know what, that's one day I'm going to get there.
Yeah, and certainly being on the Salt Flats itself is like being on the moon. It's very special.
Yes.
But I think equally the weirdest experience for me when I was there was actually staying at the casino. So Wendover is a local town.
Yep.
And I remember, I stayed there, and I had two weird experiences. The first was I remember getting into a lift with like probably a 50-year-old lady, and she kind of got in, looked very concerned, was holding onto the side of it, didn't press any buttons. I said, sorry, are you okay? What floor are you going on to? And she's like, I don't know. And anyway, she then said, I've never been in a lift before. And I was like, really? And it turns out she was a Maryland dairy farmer, and she was about 50 years old, and she'd never been in a lift before. That was her first time in a lift, which was just like mind blowing. In the US, someone hadn't been in a lift. And then the second weird thing I had was, I remember we were going for dinner after trying to beat this land speed record, and we had actually not a very successful day. We had lots of mechanical issues, and there was a guy there on a ventilator playing the slot machine.
I saw one of them as well.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, they tailor the lights. You don't know what time of day it is.
No clocks in there.
Night. Anyway, I went to bed at probably, 10 p.m. and we had to get up early to be on the salt at 7 a.m. I came down for breakfast, or 6:30, 7 a.m. and the same guy was there 7 a.m. and he'd obviously just gone through the whole night. I was just like, wow, this place is insane.
I mean, we did the same. We'd have a call time at we'd have to be on the salt for 5 a.m. So we'd be meeting for breakfast at 4:15 or something like that. And you see, it's like, I don't know, it's like almost like the middle of the day down there. Like there were waitresses walking around and the people on the slot machines, again, with oxygen tanks next to them. And you just think to yourself, wow, this is a very interesting place. I thought I'd love to photograph, but obviously not allowed. So, it's an incredible kind of place to experience. But I think I stayed in the Golden Nugget casino hotel.
Yeah,
so, but it's funny that there's a line on the road between Utah and Nevada. It's on the border, state border. And all the casinos, I think, I can't remember which side they're on, because one state they're legal and one state they're not.
I think Nevada, they're legal.
Is it exactly that? So I found that fascinating, having to cross the state line on the road so that you can go back to your hotel. And just anyway, funny.
Amazing. and you've been very successful in building a large and very engaged following on social media, particularly on Instagram. You talked about trying to get in touch with Triumph and successfully going from there. Obviously, the majority of such platforms are viewed on a smartphone, which typically has a screen size of a couple of inches by, say, 4 or 5 inches, and is typically viewed in portrait position. As a professional photographer, do you think it rather blinkers the power of photography with people viewing images in such a small format and changes the determinants of an exceptional photo?
So thinking about this, I don't think it blinkers it. I think it's something that we're going to have to, as photographers, potentially change the way we think about photographing things, or the way that we display our photographs. Because I love, if you really love an image, have it printed and have it framed well, and have it on your wall where you look at it every day. And there's certain photographs that I have of other people's that I'm like, I love that image, and I want that printed, and I want that to be something that I feel emotionally, emotional towards, I suppose. Then when it comes to social media, I think it is the way that the future of how we absorb our art is going to become, or at least it's not already becoming. It is the way we see a lot of art and design and technology. It's through our technology. So I think it's something I now change the way I photograph and the way I think about showing my images to fit that format, because that's how most people are consuming those images. It's not the be all and end all. I don't just photograph in portrait mode, for example, and think, oh, this must be a really good image for Instagram or anything. But it definitely alters the way that I think about how I photograph. So I've noticed when I first started photographing, the majority of my shots, probably 90% of my shots, would have been in landscape format. And now if I look at my work, I think I probably shoot more or less the same amount of moments that I photograph, but I shoot the same moment twice if I have the time to. So I'll shoot one portrait, one landscape. So I have the option to be able to think, okay, where can these go afterwards? But if you only have that one shot moment, I still keep it landscape, I think. I don't really know. I think I've automatically started turning my camera around a little bit more the more I photograph now, because I think about the way people consume images, being primarily now on smartphones in a portrait mode. So, I think my work, I feel, looks best printed, but because I've got quite a soft look about it, and on paper I think it looks really much nicer than necessarily on a highly contrast screen. But at the same time, it depends on how you like to see your images. And if I have on my own wallpaper on my phone, I've got my classic mini, and a photograph that I took in Scotland. And I just think, I really love that image, and I don't even think about the fact that I'm looking at it on a phone. I just think that's a really nice image that I like to look at of my nice car. So, I think is that probably the way we produce art now is changing, or the way it's seen. So, I hope that kind of answers your question.
Yep, absolutely. And I see you've recently become the co-host of Driven Chat. What's that all about?
So Driven Chat it can be quite difficult to explain initially, because there's like four prongs to it. But basically, we talk to celebrities and well-known people about what drives them and what makes them a success. Because these people haven't got there just because they're very nice and they've shaken a lot of hands or anything like that, but because they're passionate about what they do and they really strive to be where they are. So these people are very driven, and so that's our initial chat. So we've got a radio show that that our main host Andy J talks to them about. But then we've got a sideline podcast and video features which are much more car related, and so that's where myself and another chap called John Markar, we are co-hosts on the podcast, and we talk either to celebrities or with each other about car related things. And it's not about, you know, your nuts and bolts and rivet counting or anything like that. It's more so I go into it with the emotional side of things and road trips and classic cars, whereas John is the nerd of the group, so he will talk about all the nerdy things. But the three of us together, we have just a really nice chat, just a proper laugh about everything to do with the automotive world. So that community we've been talking about, it's trying to kind of express that community to the wider audience that can listen to us just chatting away. So instead of I suppose experiencing this car community from looking at, say, my photographs, you can listen to this podcast and think, oh, okay, this is what it's all about. It's not just about, what I used to consider could be quite boring car photographs or car chat, because I'm not interested in rivet counting, but some people are, and that's totally cool. But I'm interested in the adventure and the classic cars and motorcycle trips and all that. So it's a nice mixture, which hopefully a lot of people can listen to and enjoy. And then we've also got this transforming car which turns into a chat studio, which I've seen, but it is mad. So we have celebrities go into that, and Andy talks to them as well. But you'll just have to watch those videos, because it's easier to watch it than for me to try and explain it.
Funny enough, we spoke to Ted Gashu, interviewed Ted Gashu last week.
Oh, lovely Ted.
He's a great man. And he talked about how for what he was doing and Petrolicious and some of the videos, they use the car as the canvas to tell a story. I think that's quite a good concept, in that when you've got a car or shared interest in cars, it's a sort of level. It doesn't really matter who you are. You have something shared, and that's a way of sort of breaking down those barriers. So interesting. And then last question before our quick fire round: is there a particular photo you've taken which really stands out to you, or has a particularly interesting backstory? And if so, could you tell us a bit about it?
Oh, so I suppose that there's two that come to mind, because I don't have my own photographs on my walls at home, because I just feel weird about it. So, but there are two photographs, one that my parents have on their wall, and one that I produced these pictures in frames for an exhibition, and then quite a lot of things sold, and I'm super happy about it. But then obviously there was a number of pictures that didn't. So I've then divvied these pictures that didn't sell out to my friends and family to be like, have this on your wall for a bit if you want. So, and one of them was this a photograph of a fisherman, actually, which is the only picture of my own that I have on my wall, and I probably will keep it on my wall forever, I think, because it was just the most beautiful. Like, there's a difference between being photogenic and being attractive, for example. So this fisherman, I wouldn't particularly say he was of my type. So, but he had the most beautiful, like, wrinkly face with the biggest nose that I've seen on a human, and with this little, like, yellow hat, and just we were out in his boat at, like, I don't know, 5 a.m, ready for the shoot, and it was a watch shoot. He was just our transportation to get to where we needed to go, and the way that the kind of the rising sun, like, hit his face, and the glow of his instruments on his boat on his face, and I just thought that is a portrait that I am happy with. And so that is like a photograph that sometimes you just think to yourself, you know what, I didn't intend on getting this, or this wasn't this wasn't planned, but no, I really loved that. And then the other one, a bit more car related, would be a photograph my parents have on their walls, and it's the one of the last photographs I took just before I went on a Scottish road trip in my Mini, my first proper road trip, and the only one I've done on my own. And it's my Mini in my parents' garage, and the light from the garage is just lighting my dad's face. It's very dark because it's night when I left, and that to me is so emotional, because I was so scared at that point when I took that photograph. There's a little bit of snow on the ground, and that was, I think, just the beginning of my true love for road trips was that photograph. So sometimes the best photographs that you take, sometimes you think that's a wicked shot, where you just think everything worked out well, and I'm really pleased with that. But the ones that will stick with you, and I hope stick with other people that look at your images, or I mean, this is what you hope, is the ones that people really feel something when they look at them, and you just think, yes, that makes me feel whatever it is. If a piece of art or design makes you feel something, then that is good. I don't know. It's I think art is the same with music and a lot of the creative things, that they're so emotional and so, I suppose, vulnerable in a lot of ways, that to make other people feel something when they see them is a real pleasure to be able to think, yes, I've managed to make that person feel. So I've gone on a very romantic tangent of that.
That's great.
That's
and then on to our quick fire question. So first question: dream photo shoot, which car and where?
It's probably any red Ferrari, classic Ferrari, in somewhere snowy. I think just that pop of red of this beautiful car that, a lot of people would say, don't ever drive it in the wet or the snow, I think would be a wicked shoot. And I've seen a shot in the past, of something set up like that. And I thought, one day that's what I want to do.
Yep. We hope someone hears this and gives you that opportunity. And then camera of choice.
Oh, this was a hard one, but I think it's got to be my Nikon D850. I've got a range cameras, some of the smaller mirrorless ones and some of the bigger ones, but I think that is such a cracking camera that, that's probably one I'm going to hold on to for a very long time, or at least until they bring out something that can match that.
Yep. And if you only attend one event each year, what would it be?
Oh, hands down, the Goodwood Revival. It will always have my heart. And I'm so lucky that was the first proper big car event that I ever went to in my life, when my dad took me about, 10 years ago, before I was into cars. It's that if anyone listening as well, if you're overseas, that's a bucket list thing to go and experience.
Yep, I agree. And last question, and we've asked this to quite a few of our interviews: money, no object, free car garage.
So this is a funny answer. I had this discussion with a super duper rich multi-billionaire, and it was interesting because I was able to hear his answers, and I realized that when I'm answering myself, that my dream garage still has to be in a level of realism. So even though it is money, no object, I think to myself, no, but I don't know. I don't think I want to drive my 250 GTO to Sainsbury's because it feels too alien to me. So my dream garage is something I probably could realistically have. So number one, I don't think I'm ever going to let go of my own classic Mini. So that's got to be the part of the dream garage. Another one, I have got a real soft spot for, I think, MGB GTs. Something about them, I think, in a gunmetal grey, I think is super cool. I suppose the poor woman's version of the Aston Martin DB5 is how I see it. So someone's going to be like, what the hell is she talking about? But I guess that's what I kind of think. And then I've always had, again, a soft spot for, and I'm going to get so much hate for this, I think, because it's a bit more of a modern car. But I think the BMW Z4s are going to be future classics. Some of those I think are so pretty, and I just think, if I had to just bomb up and down the country, that is the car I think would be the one I'd like to do it in. So then again, I've never really driven one, so I might drive it and think, no, I'm not doing this forever. So so I think that'd probably be my 3-car garage, which is a really rubbish answer. I'm sure people would be like, oh, they should have more interesting cars than that. But no, realistically, I think that's what I'd like.
There we go. Well, why not? I think you've got to have the Z4M. You've got to have the sports version at least.
Oh, of course, yes.
And I actually, funny enough, I really like the coupes, the Z3Ms, the Z4Ms. There's something quite different about them. So no, I can appreciate that. That's a bit controversial, some of those, but I do love an MGB as well. So and everyone loves a Mini. So well, Amy, thank you so much for your time. That's been absolutely fascinating. Really good to chat to you, and I've loved and hearing some of your sort of advice and ideas about the world, and hopefully look forward to catching up on an event in the coming months, if we're allowed to, assuming you don't go back into lockdown.
Exactly. That's fingers crossed we don't, but no, thank you so much for having me on. It's been a real pleasure chatting to you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Amy.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.